All right, we are live. Welcome everybody. Today we're talking about tool holders, and I want to take a second and kind of set the stage a little bit. We have a saying that we think is very applicable to fishing, and it's luck happens when preparation meets opportunity. And a lot of the things that we sell here at Boat Outfitters are related. They're related to optimizing your boat, and making the time on the water easier, more efficient, and of course it's super critical when you're out there chasing fish.
Yeah, I totally agree with Andrew. One of the things that I feel like really makes that situation work a little bit better is when we have our tools at a hand's reach, right? My buddy has a Key West. You guys have heard me mention before that. I remember when we first got on the boat, the first thing that I did after a couple times fishing with him was get him a pair of plier holders to put back towards the transom of the boat.
You never knew where it was, right?
Exactly. Every time we were reeling a fish up, everyone's looking for pliers. They were either tucked in a bag or they were, thrown on top of the console. So you're trying to get a fish in and run to the front of the boat and not be ready to go right at the back of the boat. So I think it's a low cost way to be more prepared on the water for a good day of fishing.
Absolutely. So our tool holders, nothing really fits that model of how do I, cheaply optimize, all right, cheaply is not the wrong word, but cost effectively optimize my boat and make sure I always have the right thing. So I want to talk real quick about the main different tool holders that we have. We've got some right here, so let's just jump right into it. So the first one would be pliers, right? We already alluded to that. We actually have two different style of simple plier holders. One that has a backing plate and actually two different I should say kind of rings that it drops into, and that eliminates some rattle. You don't get as much movement because the pliers are actually captured by this second ring.
Show them the front view as well so you can see kind of where that drops in. That's not going to rattle around as much because it's capturing it there in the front.
And you would kind of juxtaposition that against this unit here that is totally acceptable, but you do get more movement because it's not captured on the bottom. So this would just be another style plier. They would work with really just about any plier.
Like
it drops
normal
in.
Danco's, or we've even got a set of bubble blade pliers over here that drops directly in there that works really well.
And so moving on from pliers, we do have knife holders as well. Now we have a very simple knife holder. It's kind of like a cheese block for the most part, and it drops right in. I got it upside down here, make sure I don't stab myself. And the nice thing about this one is it's fully enclosed, right? So there is a small drain hole in the bottom, but you have no risk of cutting yourself.
Puncturing, right.
Yeah. And there are some where the knife slides through. We'll go through as we go through some of the other modular units. There are some where the knife is exposed. So that's something to consider when you're shopping around. Hey, which one do I prefer?
Yeah, that's actually a really cool, and I've got a little bait knife over here to show them as well. Again, that was a standard 7-inch fillet knife. Here's a little bait knife that drops in. So again, it accommodates a lot of different sizes of blades. As Andrew mentioned, it is slotted at the bottom. So if you have a larger, like a 9-inch fillet knife, a little bit of that tip's going to be sitting proud of the actual hole.
And then beyond knife and pliers, we do have a Boga grip holder. Now this Boga grip is sized for a 30-pound, is that
30
right?
pound, correct.
And this is actually very, very nice. It's designed, let's see, how does it drop in? Flip in? You put it in this way, right?
Yep.
Snaps right in, and that's money right there. I mean, it's holding it real secure. You can see it from the side and from the front, and taking it out is super easy. Just pull up and it's out. So kind of snap it in.
And we can change the design as well, right? Andrew mentioned this is for a 30, but if you're using a 15, we have the technology to size it appropriately to kind of decrease that span. That's something that we can do custom for different customers.
And so does it fit the 15? We have a 15 here. Yeah. Let's test it.
So I think it fits, just not as good, right? So you can see that it drops down to where it doesn't capture that top as well.
Yeah, it really doesn't work. It's really designed for the 30.
And a lot of the audience we cater to is more of the center console market. So a lot of these tool holders are for the guys that are going to be using a 30-pound for either inshore,
freshwater,
correct,
bass. Yeah. And then another one that we think is really cool, and we get a lot of good feedback on at the boat shows, is our leader spool holders. And so what's funny is we've actually sold this for a while to the boat builders, and they incorporate them into new production boats. But at boat shows, generally they don't put anything on them. And I bet if I hadn't said leader spools when I picked this up, you'd be looking at this going, this is just a Starboard white thing, what does it do? And so the reality is when we started selling it on Boat Outfitters and showing it with the leader spool, people were like, heck yeah, that's awesome. So the gist is, this just drops on, this cap comes over the front, locks in place, and you're able to pull your leader spool and cut off line anytime you need. And for the most part, you're never having to take this off and change it out, except for when you're replacing when you run out of a specific.
So that this model specifically is a single, is what we call it, but it actually, you can see it holds 2 leader spools here, right? So it's tensioned in the way that it doesn't really hold too tight. You can pull out your leader line. Also, one of the things that's unique, we've got a couple different styles here, right? So you've got the Andes braid, which everybody knows, and then here's a tri-lean edition. So it's sized appropriately.
It actually, check this, it should work even with this like offshore.
So here's some 70-pound or 400-pound mono that's there, right? So same deal. You can see that freely spins on the spool. Again, a really cool part that we get a lot of good feedback on. The little twist here is unique in that it's very easy to get on and off when you need to use it. That kind of covers our basic tool holders. Do you want to talk about mounting style?
Yeah, so all of these are available with 2 different mounting options, and I've got a couple of examples here. The first and most simple one would be just mechanically fasten it, right? These are all pre-drilled and countersunk. It looks like this is probably number 6. Either number 6 or number 8.
Number 8.
They're number 8. Yep. Fasteners. So you can take this and you can screw it into any location that you want on the boat. But we know that screwing into your boat is not always the most fun thing to do. So show them what you got here.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can see on the back of this leader spool, we offer a suction cup version. A little bit of a side profile. You can see there's just standard suction cups. There's 3 of them on here. This allows you to attach this to any part of the gel coat of the boat. Put it right on top of the dash. One of the guides that I work with, he actually has it on his cooler. So underneath his console, he's got a double leader spool holder that he sticks this to the side of his Yeti. He's got it always right there in place. And I've seen him times where he's running where it's suction cup to the top of his console, and he is actually a sponsor for the Contender, right? Cool. So he gets a new boat every 2 years, and one of the things they tell him, don't screw holes in it, right? Because they're going to resell that boat afterwards. So one of the projects we did a couple of years back was to add suction cups to our top-selling tool holders to give that capability to where now if you want to move that around the boat, you don't have to. And what's unique is that if you ever do decide I want this permanently affixed, these suction cups are just simply super glued into the starboard. You can remove that screw, and it has literally the same hole pattern as you would if you bought a face mounting version. So then you can mechanically fasten this if you decide that the suction cups just aren't working out for you.
Yeah, I tell you, as I sit here and think about it, you could make a good argument that we really shouldn't even have 2 models. They should all just have suction cups on it, and if you want, you take the screw out, take the suction cup off, and screw it back in. Right. So yeah, buying the suction cup gives you that flexibility. One thing that's worth mentioning is, I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole of color, but we, fabricate about 10 different colors of starboard now. I think there's really 3 that we do in a very, very high volume that we make most of our parts available in. These tool holders, because they are so small, are one of the very few things that we here at Boat Outfitters will typically build some inventory on. And just from a cost-effective volume manufacturing standpoint, it lets us offer it for a lot less money. So this is one of the few things that you will see different pricing for the different colors that we have. So everything you're looking at right here is our white, which is our brightest white color material. But I believe all of these are available in both Arctic white, which is slightly off-white, and seafoam, which is like your eggshell, think typical old Boston whaler color. But there are a pretty significant upcharge to do those custom colors, because I'm literally we're gonna put a piece of material up there and cut one of these out for you.
And we're building one at a time.
We're building one at a time.
There's efficiencies in that production line manufacturing where it's okay, we're going to build 20 of these at a time versus doing one, right? From a material scrap standpoint, the way that it nests. One of the things we are, like Andrew said, we are seeing a lot of people, going to starting adding some black to the boat in dolphin gray. It's becoming more and more popular with the builders, and for some of the duck boats or a lot of the aluminum boats that are out there, we've done things for them in black to help kind of match some of their doors on the boat. If you've got a duck boat that you're out there, you don't want white, right? I mean, that's going to be something that's going to be more visible to birds.
Well, black has another advantage too. Black has negatives, and again, I risk going down too much rabbit hole, but the nice thing is, and we have a sample chain that we make available. It's $10, that includes shipping. It's really probably at a loss to us. We're doing it, to try to make sure that you can get a nice color match. But if you don't want to buy a sample chain and try to match up whites, I mean, 2 different whites can look quite bad, I mean, really bad on a boat. And if you don't want to get a sample chain, match up the color, the nice thing is, you know that black isn't going to clash with white, right? Yeah, so that is an option. Are most of them available on Black online?
You know, some of our top tool holders, since as it's progressed over this past year, we're seeing more. We've started adding and numbering them in so they become a readily purchased SKU off the website. But to that point, you know, there's really with the 10 different colors, depending on the thickness that's necessary for the different tool holders, we really can manufacture anything out of those 10 different colors if we have the thickness available. Just
prep for a pretty significant, you know, when you're talking about a couple $1,000 tackle box to change the color, you know, it's manufactured one off anyway, so to change the color is no big deal. There might be a very minimal or no color upcharge, but to take this that I have 30 of sitting in a bin and to ask me to build one of them in a special color, it might be 3 or 4 times the cost, just because you almost can't do that profitably, which is fine. I mean, we want to always be the people that say yes. We just have to cover our costs. So sometimes that is a thing that comes up. But let's talk about what we have here.
Yeah, so we covered all of the basic one-offs, right? You saw a single plier holder, single knife holder, single Boga grip holder. We've also taken that and combined them into a dual threat, right? So you've got here the same way. You've got a Boga grip holder that works really well that just drops down in here. You can see that sits in, and then a plier holder, right? And on the back of it, we've also put in a knife holder. So you've got 2 knife holders here. You've got your Boga grip and your plier holder. This is actually one of our top selling products. Again, available, in this case, it's a face mounting, but we have this available with suction cup mounts as well.
And one thing we do in a lot of our different tool holders that I didn't even touch on, it's actually in this little small plier holder, is we do just some small drill holes through the front, and they end up serving as little lure hanging spots. So that's not really like any kind of permanent mount. I mean, you're not setting your lures there and running, out for the day.
Right.
But when you're rigging up, to have a place to just set what you just cut off for a second, it's pretty convenient, and something that is incorporated into most of the different tool holders.
Absolutely. Again, you talk about where you're switching out a bait. You tried this here, it's not working very well. You're going to try something else. Be able to clip that off, retie your deal, clip your tag end off, and then have this ready. If your buddy all of a sudden starts catching stuff on this, you're ready to switch back and try to catch as many fish as he's catching.
Cool. So what else do we have? And we've got, for the most part, everything else we'll show you to a certain degree is just 2 of these and 1 of this and 1 of that, right? I mean, and we have different configurations, and some of them are redundant, but some of them happen to have a footprint that might fit your space that the other ones wouldn't. So that's really kind of what I would advise someone to think about is, 1, what are you really trying to store? Okay, knives and pliers. Okay, so there's probably 5 or 6 different tool holder configurations that have both knife and pliers, right? Then what kind of space do you have? So maybe we should talk about that.
Yes.
Where do most people put these? Like,
I've seen a lot of our parts, and when we use these, primarily these are going on the back of either a tackle box door or on the back of a console door, right? It adds a lot of storage. An individual that's going to attach these on their boat is going to put them, like I mentioned, on the console near the transom of the boat, onto the leaning post. This is something, again, this is a larger part here for a tool holder. It's a suction cup version, but you can see it accommodates the pliers here in the middle, 4 different leader spools, and then you've got knife holders here on each side. So this is what I would say is probably one of the bigger parts. Again, if you've got something that you're attaching it to the back of a door or a tackle box door, you have to have this depth. I mean, I would bet that's every bit of 6 inches that hangs out. That if you don't have this depth, then maybe you go with something that's more like this,
lower
right?
Profile.
You're going to have a lower profile here. You can see that this holds a Boga grip. This one just holds 2 knives and a pair of pliers. But if I turn this sideways, you can see that the profile is probably half of an inch difference here. So
it's tough to tell from that distance, but yeah, I mean, every inch counts. It's either the door closes or it doesn't, right?
Correct. Same way here. You've got this plier deal here. We've got the same plier here with suction cups on the back of it. Also, you can see all of the different lure holes that we drill in here. I don't know if you guys can see, but again, accommodates all different types of tools. We even do custom designs for people.
We have done custom designs. If it's not inexpensive, right? For the most part, you have to send us your tool. If you have some specific tool that you've used for years and you're passionate about, I mean, send that to us, and we can make sure that the that it fits perfectly. I wanted to mention one other spot that I've heard of people, specifically it's applicable to the leader spool holders. And I'm holding a single, but we have a double, we have a triple, we actually even have a 4 spool holder. But inside of drawers, like actually, mounting this inside of a drawer, so when you pull it out, you have it right there ready to pull out. The leader spools are not unlike all the rest of them, but they're just bulky, right? They don't normally fit. They don't fit in Plano trays, of course. They end up in a bag, and you're digging for them. So how nice is it to be able to pull open your drawer, and you've got this sitting right here with your leader spool all ready to be pulled right off. So that's another thing to think about, and definitely an option for you.
And to your point of like digging around in a bag, right? You're trying to find the right pound test. You can provide some organization to that, right?
Yep.
So if you've got them in a drawer and you've got 2 staggered, maybe you have on the left-hand side, you're starting with your lower pound test, moving into your heavier pound test as you move to the right. Your bottom right is going to be your heavy, your top left is going to be your lowest pound test.
Absolutely.
Here's one example where we talk about doing, this isn't necessarily a custom part. A lot of cool custom parts that we see come through, we end up adding to the site. This is something that would work really perfect on the back of a transom, or alternatively on the leaning post, right? So you've mounted that to the back of the leaning post if it's a fiberglass leaning post, or right on your transom. Now you've got 2 sets of pliers, 2 knives right at your hands. Again, if we could color match to the gel coat of the boat, but this white's going to work for most applications.
Yeah, so let's flip back over and let's quickly scan through the website. All right, so here we are. So we are on the tool holder section, so that everyone's aware that's under storage, and it's got its own tool holder link right there, and that brought me to this page. So you can see a lot of the same parts are working, or we've been looking at. This is the one that Jared just held up that has 2 leader spools, and of course those are double deep. So you're actually getting 4 spools of leader on this, on this part here. This is which one? This is the one that you said is the most popular. Is that right? Looks like it. 37 reviews, and so it's got 2 knives, pliers, a Boga grip, and of course a couple slots for your lures. I think this is the one that you just held up.
Yep.
Let's see, what is the new one? Here's your triples and your 4 spool holders. Your simple plier holder. There was a cool new one that you added just a week or so ago.
Right
Here we
there.
go.
So this is one that a customer actually came through and requested again for the transom or the back of the leaning post. Really low profile. You can see what he wanted is he wanted it to hold a Yeti or his drink. So again, you're usually working at the back of the boat if you're trolling. You've got everything right there at your hands. It's a pretty slick part. So if we see something come by that doesn't really meet some of the needs that we already have, we're gonna take that opportunity to add it to the site and make it available for you guys.
Cool. So we do have a question from Matt. Looks like he's asking, is there an easier way to cut leader? And I know what Matt's getting at, because this is a good chance to show, and I don't know that we have it on the website yet.
It is. Is
it?
Yep.
So I'm actually going to bring us back to this product here real quick. So, we have done a version of this. This is actually a leader organization box, which is certainly related. It is a tool holder, but we didn't have one sitting right here. We did a version of this that we actually mounted on the very top. And actually, I should click on it so that you can see the picture a little bit bigger. The leader spool actually pulls up through small holes in the top. And we went and we mounted one of the line cutters. Now, I don't know if you guys are familiar with line cutters. They were on Shark Tank. It's a really cool product. It's just a very simple, let's find it here. Line, I can type. Line cutters. So this thing is just adhesive back, peel and stick, and we were given this a while ago, and we salt spray tested it, and it just didn't hold up really in a salt environment. I know maybe it was mostly designed for fresh water, but recently they've come out with a version that is
ceramic, right? So it's a ceramic blade. We did a 500-hour salt spray test on it, held up very well. You can see here this flat mount version, you really can stick it to anything. Starboard, of course, nothing's going to stick as well. It's got a VHB tape on the back of it. So, one of the boxes we did for a customer here was that leader box that we showed you earlier, where we were able to put this right on the top of the lid, which was really unique. He was able to bolt that leader box down to wherever he had it on the boat and be able to quickly pull out how much he needed of that leader material, slide it through that line cutter and be able to clip it off. And that line cutter can actually cut, I think, up to a 100-pound braid. So it's a really cool addition. You can stick that to a lot of our different tool holders, especially if you've got a leader holder or a low locate it right next to that to be able to use it on the boat.
Yeah, I mean, how slick would it be to have one of these that's mounted in a dedicated spot? Maybe it's on the inside of a console door, or really anywhere. You could, like Jared said, you could put it on the side of a cooler, and put one of the line cutters right next to it, and now you're going zoom, snipping it right off with the line cutter, and you're good to go.
Yeah.
Good sound effects there. All right, cool. Let's switch back here. Anything else?
No, I think, again, we really covered all the different tool holders we have. I think it's important to remember that, the price difference that you're going to see, as Andrew explained, is going to be based off of the fact that the ones we're building to stock versus something that we're doing on a one-off capacity. Again, looking at our different tool holders that we have, if there's something that you see out there that you're like, just like Andrew mentioned, this is a tool that I use on a regular basis, and we don't have something for that, we'd love to give you a quote and prototype. It quote costs nothing.
Absolutely. I mean, we do custom parts all day long. We've got a team of engineers that if you don't call us, they don't have anything to do. They don't have a job. So, call us with any custom project that you have. We would love to work with you. If you have any questions about our tool holders, same holds true for just any questions. We got a team of customer service people that love to talk about boat stuff. So give us a call and brainstorm. If you have any other questions, let's see, other stuff's coming in. Do all tool holders come with suction cup options? So Sarah must have tuned in later. So yes, we do have suction cup options on most of our parts, and that is actually all on the same product page, where you can switch between your face mounting or your suction cup options.
And so that you guys know, for the suction cups, again, as part of that project, one of the things that we did was, we're not going to put out a product that we don't truly believe in that's going to last out there in the field. And we were kind of apprehensive, looking and saying, okay, we're going to put these tools inside of these holders, and we want to make sure that they're going to hold and not constantly fall off, right? You'd hate to spend $40, $50 on a tool holder that now is falling off of the side of the boat. So one of the things we did, we took a standard tool holder and we hung 9 pounds of weight off of it for like 2 weeks, right?
Yeah,
and we're just making sure where it was sitting on the window. Again, these are just your standard suction cups, so over time they're going to deteriorate. We do sell replacement suction cups on the site, but a really good option, knowing that mechanically fastening is always going to be best. Mm-hmm. But for the guy that doesn't want to put a hole in his boat, that option is available for you as well.
So then Matt asked, do you have anything for a VHF radio? So is that not in the tool holder section? I know we did something somewhat recently, or is that not on the website yet?
It's not on the site yet. It's actually going to be going up tomorrow.
Sneak peek.
Sneak peek. We've seen, one of the guys here that's on our OEM team actually has a PLB, and similar to the tool holders, you need it at hand's reach when you need it most, right? So we took and sized up a box that can be screwed to the back of a door, anywhere on the side of the console. That PLB holder will also hold a standard VHF, so it's kind of universal, where you can put, an ACR PLB or a VHF and be able to grab that when you need it the most.
Awesome. Well, with that, if you have any other questions, post down in the comments. We'd love to hear back from you. If you have any specific topics that you'd love to see us talk about, we're doing this every Thursday, so we need ideas. You let us know what you want to hear about, and we will make it happen. Otherwise, give us a call with any questions on tool holders or any custom quotes, and we would love to hear from you. Thanks, and have a great day.